I love Hellboy. No, not this abomination. This glorious piece of cinema made by this absolute babe. Anyway, Hellboy and Hellboy 2 are two great films, which are great examples of what happens when you allow a director to have creative freedom over their work. This, on the other hand, is a showcase of what happens when you let the exact opposite happen.
It's basically piss and shit, so I'm just telling you.
So Guillermo del Toro had plans to make a third Hellboy film. Ron Perlman was on board, but the studios wouldn't touch it. Eventually it was decided that a Hellboy film would be made, but they didn't want del Toro to make it. Ron Perlman wouldn't be on board either if G-Man was involved, so instead of just making things easier for themselves and hiring del Toro just to make the third Hellboy film, the studio execs decided to just reboot the franchise, because that's going to work, right? That always works, doesn't it? They bring on director Neil Marshall, who, aside from making my favourite horror film of all time, The Descent, which everyone has to watch, it's amazing, he also directed some of the best episodes of Game of Thrones and a couple of other really good TV credits. He deserves so much more work, and he's a fantastic director, and he's been completely screwed over on this. And then there's also David Harbour, who they bring in to play Hellboy, because he's cool and trendy right now, right?
Yeah, screw you too.
Now, the writing credit on this film is a big mess. The sole credit goes to this guy called Andrew Cosby, who up until the point had only written for TV. Now, not saying that that's a bad thing, but it's important to note that he had no experience, so they obviously hired him because he was cheap. So yeah, the pre-production of this film was a mess. Reportedly, the filming was a mess. Boy, it really shows. I'm just gonna say it now and get it out the way. I will be drawing comparisons between the reboot and the Del Toro films a couple of times in this. I know, I should treat the reboot as its own separate entity, but it's really hard not to. And also, when you screw over my bae, I'm sure as hell going to bring him up at every opportunity in a sad way to bask in his glory. Right off the bat, and when I say this, I mean within the first 30 seconds of the film, we get Ian McShane's narration.
And for fucking good reason.
Oh great, gratuitous swearing. This happens so much. You can already tell that Ian McShane could not give less of a crap in this film. He's here for the paycheck and that's it. So I immediately know where this film is going. Desperately pushing itself into edgy territory. It's waving its arm around, screaming, "Look at me, I'm cool too, guys!" There's this weird Guy Ritchie-esque editing, which is reminiscent of King Arthur, which is never a good thing to be reminded of. Oh great, now they're trying to rip off Sin City now as well. So after that exposition dump and a couple of minutes of build-up, we finally get to see Hellboy, and oh.
You got a face like a baboon's ass.
Why does he look so mushed up? This film was actually praised for the makeup? No, he looks so plasticky, and his stone hand is clearly made out of rubber. Look at it bounce there. Now, this is probably a tiny gripe, but in the Del Toro films, the stone hand seemed so much more realistic. It seemed to show weight. When it touched surfaces, you could hear the sound of rock scraping. There was actual care and detail here. But this is just terrible. So the first 10 minutes of the film, like most of it really, is entirely pointless. You could cut this out and the film would proceed unchanged. So here's some angsty Hellboy and skip!
Grandpa Brutenholm. He was all teddy bears and...
His mouth prosthetic wasn't moving there. Ugh. Ooh, look at that horn wiggle. That's not fake. Hellboy has daddy issues, because of course, and he is sent off to some generic secret organisation run by some English dudes.
Lord Adam Glaron, and may I introduce my associates, Dr. Edwin Karp and August Swain.
Okay, why are English people in Hollywood films called the stupidest names? Why is this a thing? Can someone please tell me? So these English guys all run a wild hunt to kill giants, and they need Hellboy's help. This psychic lady shows up and we get Hellboy's origin, where they super downplay Rasputin, which is really disappointing. Look, I get they have to world build and stuff, but there are better ways to do this than just have a bunch of randos exposition at one another for 10 minutes. It's almost as if the inexperienced writer had no idea what he was doing. I'm bringing it up again, but in Del Toro's first Hellboy film, he didn't do it perfectly, but it's still better. He used John Myers as a stand-in character for the audience, and the world was described and introduced to him. Even though, yeah, it was an exposition dump, but at least it was in a way that made sense and seemed more natural than just have a bunch of people talk to each other about information that they would already know. Of course, the Wild Hunt is bad and tried to kill Hellboy. Wait a minute. Isn't Hellboy immune to electrocution? Yeah, he is. After this, there's a battle with some giants, which brings us the worst attempt at a one-shot that I have ever seen. Look at this mess. Oh, by the way, as this is all happening,
Pick a plot line!
this pig guy is rebuilding this witch we saw at the beginning of the film, and the pig person is the only English northern character in the film. Make of that what you will. So Hellboy is saved by this girl who can talk to dead people, and then the guy from Lost shows up, who's a were-jaguar. My god, these pair have the worst English accent imaginable.
Then we make sure she doesn't come back for the sequel.
Aw, you thought you were gonna get a sequel. Cute. Okay, I can't put it off any longer. It's time for me to open a beer.
Dilly dilly! Dilly dilly!
There's more utterly pointless nonsense.
Oh, cut the crap.
Hellboy meets Baba Yaga for some reason. I don't know. Nothing comes from this scene that's important. And then they go and meet this guy who tells Hellboy he's a descendant of King Arthur.
Okay.
Oh, it turns out this guy's Merlin. They never actually tell you, unless I zoned out when they did. I don't know, I wasn't really paying attention at this point.
My brain is like oatmeal.
Anyway, he offers Hellboy Excalibur, who's like, nah mate, I'm good. And that's that. More confusing plotline jumping. The witch is put back together and unleashes a plague on London, which is awkwardly prudent for the time.
And is urging British citizens to remain indoors and to avoid contact with anyone who may be infected.
Ugh. There's some more gratuitously gory fight scenes. Ghost Lady at one point chucks Hellboy his gun and he says,
Well, what am I supposed to do with that?
It's a gun. Like, shoot it! Anyway, the witch and Hellboy meet and Excalibur turns up anyway, which means that the whole Merlin scene, as usual, is pointless. Thanks, wasted my time there. Love my life. She's like, ooh, come join me. I'm sexy. We can rule over the earth together. I've murdered hundreds of people and I'm gonna kill your father in a second. But we're gonna have sexy time. Of course, the witch kills Hellboy's dad, which is fine because he was a complete prick during the entire film and I couldn't care less about him. Hellboy gets mad and he picks up Excalibur in a rage. He then takes on his demon hell form, opens up hell where all these hell monsters come out and they start rampaging over London. Thinking about it now, I'm just really confused. I get that Hellboy's ultimate destiny is to bring the end of the world, you know, right hand of doom and all that. But how does this correlate with him picking up Excalibur? Am I missing something? I've just realised I'm giving this more thought than the actual writers of the film, so never mind, whatever. I don't actually care anymore. Oh no, Hellboy's done a heel turn. He's a bad guy now. Oh, never mind, the Ghost Lady brings back Ian McShane and changes his mind and he kills the witch. So we don't even get any cool hell monster fighting. Great. And finally, of course, we get a mid-credits scene. It's fine. I actually prefer it to the Captain Marvel credit sequence, which had me in tears. I hated it so much. The Hellboy reboot sucks. It is abysmal and depressing how something so imaginative and interesting could be turned into such a disgusting, cynical mess. I hate it so much. Guillermo del Toro, you can still make a third Hellboy film. I stand by this and will not back down. I don't think I ever will. Guillermo, it's not too late. It could work. DM me on Twitter, mate, and we can hash it out.
Guillermo, are you hiding from me?
Ha! Guillermo? Guillermo?
If you liked my video, give it a like. If you can think of a film you'd like me to watch next, leave it in the comments down below. If it tickles your fancy, go onto my channel, give me a subscribe, see my other stuff, have fun. Love you, bye.